Hello, hello. This is Pablo Arias with International Relocation Partner, and this is the Expat Community Podcast. And today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. I know if you're looking to move abroad, you may want to listen to us. We're going to have a conversation. We have experts from real estate, architecture, construction. We have a group of people in the room that is just going to share their knowledge and experience. We're going to try to make this simple and easy to understand. I'm going to give our perspective on construction. I want to call this a debate because the first thing we all say when we see somebody moving into Costa Rica or moving abroad is do not buy a property. This is the first very take as a relocation specialist dealing with 14 years of seeing people moving to Costa Rica or moving internationally, and then they ask us a few years later, they ask us that they need to move back because they made things, the wrong investments and maybe the wrong construction or maybe the wrong real estate purchase. This is our gut feeling. We want to protect the people who want to come and invest. But in this table, we have other opinions that we like to share. Hey guys, please introduce yourself briefly. Joshua, Christopher, Daniel, in that order, so we can start a conversation to take this, topic to the next level.
Thanks, Pablo. I'll go first, I guess. I'm Joshua Wittman. I'm a math and science teacher of 15 years. 4 years ago, converted to an investment advisor and real estate specialist. I practice as a buyer's agent for expats, North Americans mostly, coming to Costa Rica, looking to purchase real estate or invest for the first time.
Amazing. Daniel, you go next.
Hi guys, nice to meet you all and thanks for the time. My name is Daniel González. I'm from Costa Rica. I do architecture and construction services, and with my service, I help expats to develop projects in Costa Rica.
Amazing. Christopher, your microphone is off. Go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris. I run Costa Rica Dream Home Construction Consulting. I help people who are building in Costa Rica through the process of building, from anything from construction phase inspections all the way to holding your hand through the entire process as your personal owner's representative.
Okay, that's amazing. So you guys understand now by listening to us, we have a group of people that knows about real estate and construction, and this is what we do. I advise people in the process of international shipping to Costa Rica, and we're doing this, the expat community, because we believe there is a lot of information that people should know before they pay for an international move. Before you hire a container, you need to know many other things, and construction and investing into real estate, it's one of those big topics. So I like to ask our friends and audience, if you guys are listening, just say hi, comment, or make your questions. We may have some time to tackle some of those questions. And also, if you feel this information is important and useful, you can share that with other expats. The expat community is basically a group of people that got together, professionals in different areas, to share their knowledge and experience with the expat community. The expat community has many different resources for you. Like this afternoon at 3:30 Costa Rica time, 4:30 Panama time, we have free Spanish classes. So in a couple of hours, we'll have free Spanish classes. On Fridays, we are doing a newsletter that is local news translated into English. And we started seeing, the need, and the list of the newsletter is growing and growing and growing. We were just talking about that, and we are very excited about this service that we're doing for the expat community. And we are also looking to do meetups. So this coming December the 7th, we'll have our first meetup in Tamarindo it's called the Surf Shack, right almost across from the ocean, walking distance to the ocean. Roxana and Peter Bonono own this bar restaurant, and they invited us for all of us to get together in Tamarindo. I understand maybe some people is in Escazú, or maybe some people is in Puerto Viejo de Limón, but if you are in Guanacaste near Tamarindo, maybe you can get there. It's going to be December the 7th in the afternoon. We'll have live music, and we'll have the first guest drink for the first 50 people that get to the place. We have a courtesy drink. So the idea is for the expat community to meet with each other, meet other expats, get to know other people, because this journey is different. Not everybody is into living into another country. So meeting with other people, like-minded people, I think it's a great idea. Okay, guys, let's go into topic. My take on this is, if you're moving abroad, do not overcomplicate yourself. Before you buy anything or build anything, get to know the country, get to know the destination. And Joshua, we're talking about, you want to do it, but why not make an investment and try to get your money? So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I work with a lot of first-time buyers in Costa Rica, and there seems to be two buckets that contact me. One is the investor bucket. They're interested in return on their investment. What are the expenses? What's the exit strategy? Is it a buyer's or a seller's market? How do we make the market more transparent, especially because there isn't an established MLS in Costa Rica? If you're not familiar with real estate, that's multiple listing service. And so it's difficult to understand what the market is actually offering here. And so working with a specialist like me will allow you to understand the inventory that is available and if that fits your parameters. And then I also work with a relocation specialist like yourself, Pablo, and Sarah Elena. I know she's been on your show before. And working with them and understanding how to make Costa Rica home. And that has a whole different set of questions that come with, where do I want to be? What amenities am I looking for? What's the cost of living, etc. And what I've found in working with these two different buckets is there's a very neat crossover that you and I have discussed in the past that I find quite interesting. There is a lot of buzz for the expats looking to relocate here that they shouldn't buy anything when they first move here. You just said it yourself. They should first move here, live for a couple of years, and then once they've found their forever home or their forever town, that's when they should start looking into purchasing. And although I understand why that would make a family or a buyer comfortable, I think they're leaving a lot on the table for timing the market versus time in the market, if you know that old saying. And right now, Costa Rica, I believe, is at the beginning of an economic boom, unlike much of the rest of the Western world, where we have been marked as the hub by Saudi Arabia and other investor giants, global giants, as the hub of investment and tourism for Latin America. And this, along with some of the larger investment companies, both in hospitality and commercial investment, that are looking to nearshore to Central America. We see a lot of it happening in Mexico. We see a lot of it happening in Colombia and Brazil. But we can't forget about our country of Costa Rica that ranks very high in education. And so because we have a workforce that is interesting to commercial real estate, we need to remember that investors are looking here. And so that means we look at better infrastructure in the near future, improved telecommunications. We're seeing fiber optic, which was basically non-existent 10 years ago, very prevalent all over the country now. And so we can see a lot of benefits coming to Costa Rica, and I suggest any buyer considering to purchase real estate, don't put that idea on pause for 2 years so that you can get to know the country, because there is plenty of data already to be able to identify where are the good opportunities in this country. There is very strong hospitality markets for even Airbnbs in the country, where you can cash flow your lifestyle by owning a beach home and renting it out with a management company, and then live in various rentals over the next 2 years around the country. And that beach home pays your rent, pays your bills. And this is an idea that I don't think a lot of people moving here really consider until it's presented to them in a very logical way. And so I have a lot of respect for people saying it's a personal decision in what kind of home they want to live in or what kind of town they want to be near. But more than that, I think let's not rule out the idea that there is great investment potential in Costa Rica, and the world is verifying that.
Now, before we go into I want you to show us a little bit about your math on this. But before we go into this, I'd like to ask Chris and Daniel, what's your take? My personal take is like people should wait. I mean, don't come to Costa Rica just to start building stuff before you even understand if you want to stay here. But Joshua is making a pretty good point. If it's just a cash machine, if I put X amount of money here and I get a return on investment, and if I have an exit plan, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're maybe in Canada or whatever, Michigan, or in the States, or in Europe. If it's a logical business decision, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can just come, make an investment, and have this as an asset in a tropical paradise like Costa Rica. But once again, if you're just looking to move and you want to adjust to a new country, I think some people just overcomplicate things, and they're not just doing buying a house, but they're doing a move, they're doing immigration, they're doing maybe schools, maybe 100 different things. So that's where I really want to make the point. People should be careful. Christopher, give me your opinion. And then we have two expats here, Joshua and Christopher.
Sure.
Your opinions are like, you guys are professionals in your own fields, construction and real estate and investments, but your personal as an expat is also huge.
So I agree with a lot of what Joshua said. You don't want to get stuck in analysis paralysis and never buy anything or never build anything. But you also don't want to jump in without doing your research. And Pablo, you brought up a good point. When you're moving to Costa Rica, a lot of these expats are doing 100 different things at once. But that's the beauty of the expat community. There are resources in this group that can help you with all those tasks you got to complete. There's Pablo moving your stuff. I can speak to that. He moved my stuff here after I did the research to do it myself. But I found the savings in hiring Pablo, not only financially, but also in the time, the stress, and just the commitment to doing something like that myself. I also worked with Sarah Lena. She took a lot of load off our shoulders, and Andres Gomez did our residency. So yes, we had 100 things going on at the same time, but we distributed that load across these beautiful people in the expat community who have these great resources, and they want to help. They're not just trying to make a dollar, they want to help. Going back to the real estate topic, there are opportunities here. I've been building houses my entire professional career, and I started in residential construction in early grade school, really, summers and weekends. But with that being said, I have still purchased houses. I've purchased many houses. I'm also a real estate investor and do a lot of that cash flow and capital gains that Joshua was talking about. But just becoming a builder doesn't mean I built in Costa Rica. After I was here for a year, we identified the right property and we purchased it. And we purchased that property because we seen room for capital gains. It was the right property at the right time. And that's not something you can rush either. It may come sooner, it may come later. You may be looking over here, but it's over there. So I agree with Joshua, but do your research. And if you are not an expert at doing the analysis for an investment property, find an expert like Joshua. If you're not an expert at evaluating the property to see if it has good value as far as construction quality or deferred maintenance, I can't tell the difference between a coat of paint and a rotting wall, hire an expert. They're out there.
Amazing. Now let's get to Daniel, because one of the things, buying versus building is just buying is property is already there. I mean, you can just look at the walls and make sure it's there, and there is, I will say, less risk when you are actually seeing the product that you're getting. When you are doing a construction, there is a gap of things you don't know, that uncertainty. And there's a lot of things that could go wrong. Daniel has experience building from the ground, medium and large projects, and he has, has gone through some of these challenges himself. What's your take, Daniel?
Yeah, I
Introduce
think a
yourself and
lot
tell
of
us what you do as well.
Yeah, well, like I said before, I'm an architect. I do architecture and construction, and the main focus of my service is helping expats to develop projects in Costa Rica. I think a lot of things that Joshua and Christopher said make a lot of sense. They are expats, so they had a first-hand this experience of what is to come from another country, as transfer Euro here. Um, I think at the end is a very personal opinion, but of what you want to do with your money or how you want to start from zero here in Costa Rica. But in the end, you will need a big team of different areas to understand what you have to do. You have to come to Costa Rica. You need to see how things works here. One of the main focus of the service that I do is at the beginning we don't give a talk about architecture and construction. The first thing that we do at the beginning of the service is talk to the client and understand what they need, because you are going to need different lawyers, maybe lawyers that are in real estate, lawyers that are in immigration. You will need the real estate agents. I mean, you will need a lot of different things to understand what is the first things that you need to do to be able to make the project. I have an experience with people that I met this couple some months ago. They wanted to buy properties in Nosara and Santa Teresa and all this area. They have never been in Costa Rica. So the first thing that we did is I said, come to Costa Rica. Let's talk to the lawyers that work with me. Let's talk with the real estate agents. At the end of the travel, they said, Daniel, we are 100% sure that we want to buy in a Fortuna. So they
Wow.
changed their mind completely, because once that they came here and I talked to them and I presented the people of the team, they realized that because of the money, of the time, of the location, and the idea that they have, what suits better for them was to buy in a Fortuna. So they have at the beginning this idea of making a house, like I said, Joshua before, they want to make an investment to produce money, but at the end we realize because of the process that we get that they want to make different cabins in the area. So you need to come to Costa Rica. You can go as far as you can, but you really need a team of people that know what they're doing, because even if it's a very personal opinion, you will need professionals to understand if your opinion is right or not, or what works better for you. So it's not complicated. You just need to talk with professionals here in Costa Rica to understand how things works here, because there is not only the money that you want to invest in the project. There are different things, different institutions, municipalities, and more. That means more time and even more money. So it can work for you, but you need to make a complete study to understand what is the best for you and your investment.
Pablo,
Yeah.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Before I forget, I want to respond to something you said, but if you had something to say to Daniel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, you said with building, you were of the opinion there's less risk, and I just wanted to
That's what I
respond
thought.
to that. There is an opportunity for less risk. You can mediate your risk with building, but you have to do it smart. You can't go in it blind. Unfortunately, there's tons. The majority of the people I have met and encountered in Costa Rica are beautiful people, inside and out. But that doesn't mean that they exactly know. The person you hired to do the job doesn't necessarily mean they know how to do the job correctly or right. And there's also variations in building standards too. Joshua's building standards as an American may be different than Daniel's building standards as a Costa Rican. I'm sorry. So it's also good to know what you're getting into, what building standards are of the person you're working with, what their education is, and also, I'm going to plug myself here, working with someone who can represent what you want and your expectations through the process and help communicate that through the entire process.
So going into that, this is something I don't see that often in Costa Rica. Having a third-party inspector is only something you see in large projects. So the government is building a bridge, or a government is building an airport. The normal process would be to have the contractor, the building company, they do everything, but the government has, as part of the process, another company that is a third party that will inspect and make sure the project it's being delivered properly. And this is normal for like big, large projects, but I don't think it's very normal for the average project in Costa Rica. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are Daniel and Christopher. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see it as often. What I see is people just hire whoever they feel they're good with.
Well,
third party doing that inspection and being on top of the contractor.
Daniel can definitely speak to this as an architect, but in Costa Rica, if you are building, there is someone on the job site that's responsible for keeping a logbook, either the architect or the engineer on file. Correct, Daniel?
Yeah, actually.
Yes. But let me before you go, Daniel. But the normal thing to do is that the construction company is also the engineer. It's also the architect. That's what happens. So it's not a third party. There is no somebody that will protect your interest as a customer, because you're giving whoever is building is also the person who has the log and has the signature every week of the construction log. Now, Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that is a very valid point. I mean, in Costa Rica, by law, someone has to be the representative of the project. So I would take charge for everything that will happen in the project. But I'm seeing more and more this figure of home inspectors that is a third party that the clients hire to see if the project is going in the way they should go. Because at the end, the client, he doesn't know about construction, he doesn't know about detailing more. So he prefers to hire someone that is looking at the project, that is doing visit, that is not making critics of the project, but is working with me, the architect. So we together we are looking when taking care of the investment of the client. So I'm seeing something that more and more. Actually, last week I was in my office. Someone called me and he said, "Daniel, I have this project is in 2 months. It's going to be done. So I would like to know if you give services as a home inspector, because I want to hire someone that is in the last month every single day there to look if the project is going in a way." So is as a Costa Rican, it's not that common, but it's something very common in the expat community, because I think it's something that happens a lot in the United States and different countries. So they come in with that, and it's something that happens more and more. So I think at the end, it's not someone that is looking if I'm doing bad my work, but we can work together so we can make sure that we are going a good work, and at the end of the construction process, the client is happy with the product that he has. So I think it's very important. It's something is growing more and more in the China, in the expert community.
Daniel's exactly right. It's not about picking apart the builder's work or the architect's design. It's about making sure the customer is getting what they expected and what they are paying for. And he's right. It's about working together. When I'm with my clients and we're interviewing builders, that's one of the questions we ask them is how do you feel about working with a owner's rep, a third party's owner's rep? And we read them. If it's something that they're not comfortable with, that's a good indication. That could be a red flag. They don't want someone else looking over their shoulder. In reality, it's not looking over your shoulder. It's looking at it together. And as a builder, I've spent over a decade as a custom home builder. I've always brought in third-party inspectors for phase inspections. And, we turn it into a game. I try to make it so they couldn't find anything because my job sites were so clean, and they would spend the extra couple hours trying to find something. And but when they found something, and even if it's something obvious, like, I missed it, I'm so glad you found that. My customer's so glad you found that. and it takes a load off my back just to know another expert has come in and said my job is looking good.
Now, let's not forget, and I'm very thoughtful about one fact. We are all in this room working with people. At the end of the day, we're working with humans that, we have desires, we have dreams, we have emotions. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm gonna, throw this to Josh. Correct me if I'm wrong, but buying property is a very emotional, in general, it's a very emotional process. You fall in love with the neighborhood, you fall in love with the property. Look at that, master bedroom, and there's a lot of emotion in that buying process. Now,
Yeah, I would
your
disagree
own
with you.
property.
I don't think it should be an emotional process. In fact, if
I'm
it is
trying to
going to be
say.
an emotional process, I would suggest that you rent, because you should not be putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into something that it is an emotional, dare I say, whim. An investment that has any amount of weighted capital to your purse should be 100% logical decision. It should not come from your gut saying, this feels right, because if you do base this decision, just from what we've heard from Daniel and Chris, if you base this decision on emotions, then, but it doesn't matter if that roof is leaking, we'll get it fixed. Like, where do we draw the line then of this is a logical decision versus an emotional one? And that's where I come in as a buyer's agent, is I'm looking at every decision with logic. You need a reference to a building inspection. Great, get in touch with Chris, or get in touch with Jeff and Hako, or whoever you need to be looking at. I'll put you in touch with 3 or 4 different recommended lawyers. In that regard, then we can have a logical description of what are the stats of this person, what are the prices of this person. The same thing needs to go into the investment itself with looking at a property. We cannot be leaving this up to my heart's content. If that's the case, then you should have a very low-hanging exit strategy. In that case, I would recommend renting.
Yeah, and that's, I'm glad you say that. I'm making the point. Buying is usually an emotion. If you are in sales, if you're buying anything, if you're buying a car, if you're buying a property, it's usually an emotion that triggers, that we all justify usually with logic. That's who we are as a human beings. But we need to, when you're doing this type of investments, it just makes sense to analyze things properly and understand what you're doing. So I love you say that way. So I'm stating this, this thing. We are working with humans. We all make decisions based on emotions, but hold on, push your brakes and try to understand what you're doing, because things could go sideways 150%. If my family had lost hiring a construction company, back in the day, I remember, building, my dad used to have this business. He was growing the business. He wanted to expand the property, expand the building, put a lot of money, week after week, financing everything cash. And the construction company just took all the money and just did not show up for 3 weeks. And that was a lot of money because he was paying every week, and then the guys disappeared.
Pablo, I wanted to add something that you just said, because I think it's very important, once again, to have a good team. I met this couple that they came to Costa Rica and they fell in love with a neighborhood, with a house. It has a very big walk-in closet because I have a little couch. I don't know, a lot of things that are very personal. And they decided to pay a very big time in front to the rent, a lot of money. 4 months later, they said, we cannot anymore. I love the house. It's so complicated because the traffic is 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 so long to the college for my kids. So there's a lot of things that you need to ignore and not be just very emotional. Be a more logical in the process, and it is very important because it isn't just a decision. There is a lot of time involved in that. There is a lot of money involved in that. There is a lot of family relationships, because they say, Daniel, I don't have any time with my kids because my work is so long to where I live. So it's a very, very logical process that you need to take first.
Okay, before our time is about to finish, but I would like to, Joshua wanted to show us how he estimates a property has a desirable return of investment. Joshua, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about this.
See, my mic's working. I'd be happy to discuss. I sent you a screenshot of a spreadsheet. Looks like we're getting that pulled up here. So as a math teacher and science for 15 years, I like to play with calculators. And this is one that, get in touch with me. You have my contact information. If you're watching this, there's probably a link in some comment section or something, or go to one of my websites and you can get in touch with me directly on WhatsApp. But what we're looking at here is my deals done for you calculator. This is not a completed or have any identifying information on this calculator particularly, but what we have here are various calculators compiled into really the bottom line number, and that's over on the right side next to those yellow boxes. We're really looking at the blue and that purple box. And so if we can zoom in to the different sections of this, we can go over some of these, but these are some general back of the envelope costs that we want to consider when purchasing an investment property. So this would be a calculator that you would purchase for looking at a 2-bedroom condo, or maybe purchasing land and building 6 units onto it, and then needing to consider what are the immediate costs, or what we might call carry, and what are going to be your annual or monthly costs. So that's broken down into each of these parts. Then once we're operating, we need to consider occupancy. And then with occupancy, we can look at what are our expenses versus what is our net revenue. And then with our net revenue, we can calculate our return on investment or our capitalization rate. And so in Costa Rica, a good cap rate is typically around 6-7%. If we're looking at over 8, that's a great deal, and we're going to want to be qualified and move very quickly on that. For financing, we're looking at anywhere between 8.5 to 12% on a variable rate for typically 15 years, although financing can go up to 25 or 30 years, with 30% down is typical for a down payment. There are a lot of rumors about getting financing as a non-resident or as an expat. You can now. That wasn't the case a couple of years ago, but there's been some serious pushes in La FICE. Let's see. La FICE is the biggest one right now. There are a couple other banks that I know Scotiabank is one of them. So we can look at that. There's also hard money loans. All of these different numbers are what I use with my clients to make a logical decision on how we can see if this is going to cash flow or not. So I'd be happy to have a conversation with any of our listeners more in depth on how we can analyze the numbers to make sure that this is going to make sense for a purchase. Hey, Pablo, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I think you're mute.
Go ahead. Yeah. I was saying, I see Christopher looking at the calculator. Oh, yes, I see that.
Yeah, I was going to ask Christopher, you see anything missing on here?
Oh, no, man, looks good. Looks good. I had a similar spreadsheet that I used to run my investment properties through.
Amazing.
Most of the properties I bought were in mind of fixing them up and then putting tenants in them and getting that capital gain a few years down the road. Not necessarily a strategy I would pursue here in Costa Rica, although I haven't really looked into that.
No, I would second you on that, Chris. There's one of the many rules we have, rules of thumb, we might say, is the 1% rule. So to see if it's a good rental property, we can apply the 1% rule. So if a property is for sale for $100,000, it's going to be profitable. You're going to have a cap gain at 1%. So that means we should be renting it out for $1,000 a month if I purchase that property for $100,000. And that's just not the case. Most of the properties that we're seeing renting for $1,000 are for sale for $200,000, $250,000, if not more per month. Let me put that in perspective. I'm renting my house for $1,400 a month. It's a 3,000 square foot home in a nicer neighborhood of the Central Valley. Here, in this neighborhood, this house would easily sell for $350,000 to $400,000. This is well below the 1% rule. And I can apply this to almost any market in the country. It is typically not worth purchasing one unit, meaning a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom condo, and renting it out. If you're going to do that, you need to be renting it out short term. And then we're looking at the serious variable of occupancy, because now we're looking at what are all the other pieces of inventory that are competing with yours, what are the low season rates, and it's a different beast to tame entirely. So
yeah,
a lot of numbers to consider.
It's gone. It's been almost, it's almost 40 minutes, 37 minutes. So thank you so much for this opportunity. We want you guys to come back to join other, podcasts, have you guys as a recurring guest. We're trying to make the expat community one of the best resources for expats to come, learn, get information, news, to meet with other expats. And you guys are making this possible. Thank you so much, Christopher. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Joshua. If anybody wants to connect with these gentlemen, you see the websites in the below. You see they're showing their different websites below. Please connect with them. This is one of the nicest people I met in the real estate and construction industry. I'm telling the truth. The four of us, I think, including myself, and I'm not bragging, I feel we have a pretty, good people here. We have pretty good people. Kind is very kind, working, talking to you guys every time, and I'm really, really proud of this team. Thank you so much. Our time is up. Say bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for the time.